Hello, so this is my second video. I haven't made one in a few days because I've just been kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, a little overwhelmed. The first week or so, when you're like quitting from drinking after drinking for so many years, it's said to be like a little different, you know what I mean? So your body's getting used to it, all that good stuff. But I went to my first all girls Zoom meeting for AA. I don't know about anybody else, but it does make me feel way more comfortable talking in a room full of just girls. I feel like I can speak my mind, and they definitely do there. So I like that everybody interacts a lot more, I guess, because of that same feeling of comfort and like, you know what I mean? It's different talking to all girls than talking in a room full of guys. And it's like, there's certain things that girls go through that men just, it'd be harder for them to understand. But I've also taken up going to therapy, that which I actually started therapy before I started my AA classes, mainly because when I started therapy, it was like I don't know what else to do. Like, I was at the point where I understood that even if I only drank once or twice a week, it wasn't the amount of days that I drank a week. It was the fact that once I had my first drink, I couldn't stop. And that is what would lead me to like making really bad like choices or being like impulsive and angry, and it affects everybody differently. Some people are social drinkers and they can go out, have a few drinks, know when to stop, go home, or they go out and have a blast with their friends. Even if they get like super drunk, they'll still wake up and they won't have any regrets. But there's people out there like me who just, I've gone through so much in my life, especially during my childhood, that it literally, it just, there's something that takes over when I drink. And I don't know, there's just so many different moments growing up, different ages of my life that just kind of come out depending on, I guess, the day or whatever when I'm drinking. So therapy has definitely been helping unpack a lot of things that I've been realizing I didn't even remember. And I don't know, it has helped me along this sober journey. Um, it was my mom's birthday yesterday, and um, I come from a Hispanic family. Drinking is just so normalized. There's nobody that sees an issue with drinking, and even if you get super blacked out or super drunk, they just see it as it's a family party. It's like the excuse, right? But again, for people like me, it just doesn't work out like that. So when I went to her house, me and my partner went to her house to celebrate her birthday, and her man were pouring up their shots and having beers. And I am not gonna lie, the first few seconds that I was there, I had this little voice inside of me. One side, at one point, like there was a moment where I was like, fuck, like I should just get a little shot. It's just one shot, but then I was like, no, like, we know where that leads. And then there was another little voice that was like, hello, they know that I'm freaking sober. How dare they pour drinks right in front of me? But then like at that same moment that I thought that, there was something that instantly made me go, stop. Like, the world does not revolve around you to the point where everybody's gonna be like, watch out, because the alcoholic is here, we have to hide the bottles, you know what I mean? So it really is my responsibility to be able to have some sort of control, both mentally and literally physically, to not pick up a drink, or you know what I mean? So, and honestly, in that moment I realized, it's like, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want the change? How bad do you want the blessings that come with this change? Like, are you willing to think that you got it all in the bag just because you haven't drank for a few days and you think you're good now, like you can control it? Because obviously that's always what we tell ourselves, alcoholics, right? We always say like, no, yeah, no worries, I got this, like I haven't drank, so that means must not be that big of an issue if I'm able to go. Yesterday was my 9th day, today's my 10th day. But we just get this, ego that's like, no, yeah, whatever. But in reality, it's like, it's not how we think it is in that moment. It's literally just the craving. And so I filled up my water cup and I just kept drinking my water. And what I realized at the end of that night was that I had so much fun. I had so much fun being around my nephew, my sister, my partner, my mom. You know what I mean? It was like such a very like innocent, hangout. Even though my mom and her man were drinking, obviously they're like social drinkers. They control, they're not like crazy Hispanic that get loud and rowdy. But I don't know, I just felt very good. I felt very good about the fact that I was able to control myself enough to say, I don't need that. And I really didn't. Like, usually that's something that makes me think like, oh, I'm around people, I get anxious or social anxiety or whatever, like I need to drink so that I can be chill and I can be cool and like, but in reality, it's not that. Like, and something that my therapist really did say that obviously I'm like, I resonate with it, is she said, so do you drink because you have anxiety, or do you drink because you're afraid that if you are yourself, people aren't gonna like you? And I feel like it's so true. Like, at least for me, it's not for everybody, but at least for me, it's like a lot of times that I would drink and I would think that it's because of social anxiety. The reality was that I just kind of like wanted to fit in. I didn't want anybody to see the real, I guess, weird self that I can be being sober. And obviously this is all in my head because I've been around many people sober and they love me. They love my vibe regardless. But anything, that little, voice, that little alcoholic voice is going to say whatever to convince you that you need a drink. And in reality, it's like, you really don't. Like, it's really not that serious. And I really hope that anybody who does end up watching these videos, I'm not doing it for anything other than myself, because it does help me be able to talk about it. But also, I really hope that anybody that does come across them resonate in the most positive way and are able to acknowledge that it really is just one day at a time. You don't have to beat yourself about, your addictions or anything that you feel like you have no control over. As long as you acknowledge it, that's always the first step. You accept that you have a problem and then you can go from there. But if you go your whole life in denial and feeling like you have control over everything, but there's still issues going on, then you know what I mean. But again, one day at a time. There is kind of like a rush, because at some point it does get like your health gets in the way, and then legal issues happen under alcohol or addictions. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I did stop going on TikTok. I delete my TikTok because it literally has a chokehold on me. I cannot not scroll, and when I do, it's like I binge scroll. So right now I'm doing like these real estate classes, working as a leasing agent, so it's like I have to be super focused right now. But yeah, be blessed.